guys, welcome in. Just throwing a quick video today to talk more about putting direct pressure on someone's life-threatening bleeding. So real quick before we jump into that, we want to recognize life-threatening bleeding exists and what that actually looks like. So for us, what is going to be mostly is going to be appearance as we size up the scene and form the initial impression. So what do we see and what does it look like, right? Is there broken glass, sharp objects? Is blood pooling around the person's body? Is it bright red in color? Is it flowing continuous, otherwise gushing and spurting? So these are things that we'll look for as we go through the care concept of life-threatening bleeding, right? So let's assume that we see that this is representing someone's thigh, right? So this is someone's thigh, they're laying on the ground, we approach the scene, we check to make sure it's safe, we verify and obtain consent from the person, we activate EMS because we see that the bleeding is bright red in color, flowing continuously, right? So that to us tells us, yeah, this is problematic. We're gonna wanna call 911 for this. We'll activate the first aid kit and the AED machine just in case we're gonna need those things. Obviously for the first aid kit, which is where we'll find our materials, we're gonna need that. And as it returns, we wanna make sure that we wear gloves. Now remember, when it comes to blood and bleeding and even direct contact with patients or ill or injured people in general, we do have a pretty relatively low transmission rate of disease transmission. But again, to protect ourselves, yes, we're gonna wanna wear gloves. We'll throw those gloves on. We'll grab our gauze pads out of the first aid kit. And we're gonna tell the person, you know, look, this is probably gonna be uncomfortable. This might hurt. We're gonna grab that gauze pad out with pressure. We use a hand over hand technique, very similar to what we do with CPR body position. We're gonna tell the person, this might hurt, and we're gonna push hard, right? Very important that we push hard because that direct pressure is gonna be what stops blood from exiting the body. This can take, anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes really of holding with tight direct pressure, at which point we'll glance underneath. And if I see blood has soaked through that first gauze pad, I'm gonna get another one out, holding that pressure, put a second gauze pad on, again, holding that pressure with a hand over hand technique, push hard, okay? So I'm gonna do this basically until the bleeding stops. Now, if blood soaks through this second gauze pad, the one I just put on, I'll take off only the second gauze pad. I'll get a new second gauze pad, and I will only ever replace and remove the second pad, right? Now notice that first gauze pad I put on, that always remains in place. That's gonna help us control that bleeding. So we will continue with that direct pressure until the bleeding stops. EMS arrives and they can help us take over care from there, right? So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video, taking a look at direct pressure, how to hold tight with direct pressure when it comes to life-threatening bleeding. Thanks so much for joining us today. Have a good one.